for you this lesson from Unity of the Keys Spiritual Center.
My name's Erica Beaurline, and my partner Marlene and I used to live here in Key West. We moved to St. Petersburg about 3 years ago. Many of you have heard, though, that I am leading a workshop after the service, Louise Hay, Heal Your Life workshop from 12:30 to 3. So I invite as many of you as possible to stay after the service for that. You won't be disappointed. So while I was in St. Petersburg, yes, I was able to train, which was just a dream come true to me. So while many of you know me, you probably don't know me in this role, though. You knew me more as the pool lady, right? Because I had my swimming pool maintenance business. Well, and I'm here today, I'm giving the message, and I've entitled the message, Taming the Inner Critic. Wow, that's a mouthful, right? Well, easier said than done. Then we've heard the golden rule, love thy neighbor as thyself, but it's pretty hard to love your neighbor if you don't first love yourself. Course in Miracles teaches us, forgive and love thyself. Now, I don't really know when it was we got away from this notion of really loving ourselves. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about arrogance or vanity here. That's something really different. That's not love. That's more from fear. I'm talking about really respecting and honoring the incredible beings that we are, because each one of us is someone really unique and marvelous, and we're just miraculous expressions of life. But we need to know it through and through. So not only do we need to love our neighbor, but we need to love ourselves, and we need to begin there. So today I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I've discovered that you can really learn to love yourself. I'm going to describe a few practices that if you really take them on, you will be amazed how much your life can change for the better. Now, we're unity people in here, right? We've probably spent a great deal of time and energy working on ourselves. And it can be kind of frustrating to have spent all that time and energy working on yourself, but not really be as happy as you want to be. Well, I think back at a time when I was about 7 or 8 years old. We lived out in the country, and it was summertime. That was my favorite time of year. Oh my gosh, when I was that age, I was so lit up about life. I just couldn't wait to get out into every new day. So I decided I was going to do this thing where instead of wearing my pajamas to bed, I was going to wear my clothes, right? I thought, nothing can stop me. I can leap out of bed and just dash into the next day, right? That was how fabulously lit up I was. Well, you know, life happened. I grew up. I became an adult. And it's like, what happened, you know? Sometimes it's just getting through the day. I want that feeling back. Well, I'm going to tell you something that may really surprise you. If you only knew the extent to which your self-criticism and your negative self-talk was ruining your happiness. You probably think it's a lot more complicated than that, right? Well, I'm going to share with you some really simple and uncomplicated practices that, again, if you really take them on, your life can seriously change for the better. And absolutely number one, and if you get this one, you almost don't have to take on the others because it'll just come naturally. And that one is stop all criticism. Stop criticizing yourself. Make a vow, I'm not gonna do this anymore. You've been criticizing yourself for years, and you're still criticizing yourself for the same things you were criticizing yourself for before. Seems that it doesn't really work. Oh, I know. I You probably think you need your self-criticism to motivate you to make changes, right? Well, I'm going to tell you that if you really dwell in what it is doing to you, it is just beating you down. So, where did we get this habit of self-criticism? I mean, we all have it, right, to one degree or another. Well, our childhood, like that story I told you when I was 7 or 8 years old. Well, when my mother found out that I wasn't wearing my pajamas to bed, I was wearing my clothes, well, she scolded me, right? Really rained on my parade, you know. She didn't really get it. Well, actually, that kind of was how it was for me. I mean, my parents were fairly critical people. Oh, don't get me wrong. They loved me. They were good people. But they did really err way more on the side of being critical than they did on the side of praising me. Oh, probably it was how they were raised. You know, they did the best they could. But really, you know, it kind of became my story when I became an adult. And I blamed them a lot for why I wasn't really happy. They criticized me all the time, I said. They didn't support me. Well, you know, when I get right down to it, I mean, here I am. I'm in my 50s, right? They're long since dead. It's me. It's me who's taken on this practice of criticizing myself. I mean, the very thing I blame them for, I'm the one who's doing it to myself. You see, that's pretty much how it works for all of us. I mean, we have a tendency when we become an adult to take on, to talk to ourselves the same way our parents talk to us. We scold and punish ourselves the same way they scolded and punished us, or we praise ourselves the same way they praised us or didn't praise us. Well, you know, when I really got this, wow, it was really quite an eye-opener, because that little voice in my head, it really wasn't being very nice to me. And, you know, people told me, Erica, you're really hard on yourself. And I really was. And I really thought that I needed that to push me. But really, when I got down to it, you know, it beat me down. And anyway, criticism never changes a thing, really. And that if you make changes through criticism, the changes will be negative. So let's instead try something different. Let's try being okay the way we are, and we can make changes. I remember what a revelation it was when I realized I could make changes without being a bad person first. I mean, I didn't have to be bad and then change. I could be okay and just change. Criticism breaks down the inner spirit. Praise builds it up. So instead, let's practice accepting ourselves exactly as we are. You see, really powerful beings, and our thinking is creating our experience. We do choose the thoughts we think. I know, sometimes you think they just zip through your mind really fast. I mean, how could you really be choosing them? But you do choose your thoughts. So instead, practice consciously choosing thoughts that are more nurturing, more uplifting, more supportive of you. I have a practice when I catch myself, you know, going down that bad road, thinking negative thoughts. As soon as I realize I'm doing it, I stop myself and I interject this image of me sitting next to a beautiful waterfall in Costa Rica. Usually that will shift me. Or I'll start listing everything that I'm grateful for. Now, if you really take this on and practice it, you can reprogram your mind over time, and you can dwell a lot more of your time in a much more positive space. So next, practice refusing to scare yourself. or terrorize yourself with scary thoughts. I mean, don't take a small situation and turn it into a big monster. I mean, how many times have we lain in bed at night and gone over and over the worst possible scenario? We get a pain in our body and immediately we're planning our funeral. Yeah, some of us in here have done that. Well, we do it with relationships too. Somebody doesn't call us back right away and, oh my God, we're entirely unlovable. At our job, we hear a few mutters and it's, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. Just stop it. It's a terrible way to live. Promise me you're not gonna do that anymore. So instead, be gentle and kind and patient with yourself. Like practice talking to yourself the same way you would imagine the perfect parent would talk to you. And please, if something bad happens, don't immediately blame yourself and hate yourself. I mean, these are only thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. You are worth loving. I mean, and despite the way some of us were raised, you do not have to earn love. You deserve love simply because you exist. So take on being kind to yourself, and this means stopping all blame, all criticism, and all guilt. Criticism breaks down the inner spirit, and praise builds it up. So many of us refuse to put any time or effort into creating a great life for ourselves because we feel we don't deserve it. Now, thoughts of not deserving can come from either somebody telling you didn't deserve, or maybe something as simple as early toilet training. Deserving is really our willingness to allow good into our lives. So please allow people to contribute to your life. Ask for help when you need it. Now, taking on a practice of being loving to your negatives is way more effective than saying things like, I hate my job, or I hate my relationship. Things like that just keeps you attached to what you hate. A really cool story that was in one of Louise Hay's books. She tells a story about a woman who comes to her seeking some guidance. This woman has an eating disorder, bulimia. She feels compelled to throw up, but she hates this behavior in herself, has tried everything. Nothing would work. Louise Hay counseled her to love herself even when she was in the act of throwing up. Amazing. The woman did this, and it worked. Actually, she lost that compelling urge. In fact, it was the only thing that worked. It's an amazing story. It seems that that part of herself was really just begging for unconditional love and acceptance. So practice accepting yourself as you are. Because we've all created negative experiences in our life. And the thing is, we have a choice. We can choose to stay in the past, or we can choose to bring in more kind, more loving, more supportive thoughts. Let go of the old patterns with love allows you to bring in the new, more loving pattern. You see, the universe is like a giant yes machine. It says yes to whatever it is we are putting out, and it mirrors it back to us in our experience. So if you go around saying, I hate my job, let me tell you, the universe is going to get hates job. So you get a new job, and I guarantee you it won't be long before once again you're going to start hating your job. So again, it's a practice of releasing with love. You see, every thought you think and every word you speak is being reflected back to you in your experience. So you want instead to release with love. Now, another really powerful practice that Louise Hay used, even up into her 90s, is what we call mirror work. It's a really great way to get really honest with what is your relationship with yourself. So try this. The next time you're in front of a mirror, look right at yourself, right into your own eyes and say, I love you. I really, really love you. And just notice how you feel. I mean, are you really uncomfortable? Does this feel really strange, weird, or false? Let me tell you, when I tried mirror work, it was hard. Man, I really felt a lot of resistance. Is there a little voice in your head that says, who am I kidding? Try this really simple affirmation every time you're in front of a mirror, and let me tell you, things will begin to shift because the universe is going to get that things have changed. See, this allows us to understand that we are really naturally lovable beings, and you will see enormous changes start to happen in your life. If so this seems too much at first, you could say something like, I am willing to learn to love myself, or I'm willing to learn to love myself. It's an extremely powerful practice. You see, self-love and self-acceptance are the keys to positive change and the key to taming that inner critic. Inside each one of us is a little boy or a little girl that is just begging for your unconditional love and acceptance. So it's time for you right here, right now, to be the hero in your own life because you are the one you've been waiting for. Thank you.